Welcome to the Prep Reporters. We're on the road again at Burns High School in Lawndale, North Carolina, and I'm David Summey, your host. Joining us today is Coach Bean from Burns.
How are you?
Good to have you, Coach.
Good to have you.
Coach, you're coming off a win last week against the Q Foundation. Right now you're 4-1. You've had some wins also against South Point and defended 3A state champ last year. Talk a little bit about your season right now and how things are going, and what you look forward coming up in the season.
Well, we started off the season against Crest, and we didn't play very well against Crest, and I'll give them all the credit in the world. They did a good job. They didn't turn the ball over, and they beat us. And I was really kind of worried about our mindset of our kids maybe the next Monday, but we came to work and we focused, and we went out and played a good Kings Mountain team, a really good Kings Mountain team. And really, that was the game. Our defense just started making some plays. I think we get 5 turnovers against Kings Mountain. We returned one of them for a touchdown. We intercepted one of them in the end zone. And then offensively, from that point there, I think we made a promise to ourselves that we're going to play better than we did against Crest. And from that point there, I think somebody said we'd averaged well over 40 points a game, getting near 50 from that point. So, we knew that we had some offensive weapons with all the returning kids that we had. That wasn't ever a concern. We knew we were going to have one more year in our offensive structure, and our kids were going to understand what we wanted to do. I knew that the defense was going to be much better. There was no doubt about that. Last year we had a lot of people that were inexperienced, and we played young kids. We played a lot of sophomores, and so this year, our defense has played just exceptional. They have played really well, and I've been very, very proud of them.
Yeah, like you said, last year was also your first year here, coming to North Lincoln. So you're coming in trying to instill a new offense and, your way of football, coming to school. So, last year, like you said, and this year you have the second year.
Absolutely.
And, you definitely have a high-powered offense, led by your quarterback, Brandon Littlejohn. Tell us a little bit about that offensive side of the ball, what you've done, in the 2 years that you've come here to kind of put your thumbprint, your stamp on it.
Well, a lot of times, I hear people all the time say, Coach Bean will throw it, he wants to throw it, he does, and I do want to throw it, and I'll tell anybody that we love to throw the football. But I think some people forget sometimes of how powerful our running game is, and I brag on Darius Scooter Ramsey all the time about how good a player he is. He has worked just probably as hard as anyone in the weight room just to get his body where it needs to be. And our zone run package allows our offensive linemen, who are not very big, to be able to zone run and zone block. And then Ramsey, he needs a crease about this big, and he gets into it. And then he tells me all the time, Coach, I just need this much, and I'll get into that hole. And he really does. He really makes his body small at the point of contact. He never takes huge hits. He's always going forward, even with kids that are big players. And Ramsey and Littlejohn are good friends. I mean, they're best buddies, and they're back there together. And last year, it was me having to call everything over there. Brandon being a sophomore, and he played on the JV team, so he really didn't have a lot of varsity experience. So we had some lumps. We started out 0-5, and that's been talked about, and everybody jumped off our bandwagon, and we were going to struggle, and then we made a run. And then even coming back into this year, I don't think many people said, hey, they can go to, they can beat Kings Mountain. And I know for a fact not many people said we'll go to Asheville and do what we did there.
Yeah.
And then with South Point coming in, that was still another, hey, I'm waiting for Burns to screw up and South Point run it against them. And South Point's a great team, and Asheville and are, but we don't need people to brag on us, but they're going to know that we play them.
Oh, yeah.
And but our offense, it has a ton of pieces that is able to make it very difficult to stop. With the running back and the quarterback, it starts there with both of those two guys. Our offensive line does a great job of getting in the way. We don't ask them to maul people or knock people down or anything like that, because we can't, but we get in the way, make a little crease, and then we got receivers out there with, especially starting with Brooks and Jonah Brooks and Brandon Whitworth, that are as good as anybody around. And I said that before the season. Those two receivers were totally as good as anybody around. And they're showing that. I think Brooks has 8 touchdown receptions. Whitworth has 6. So, you know, I mean, through 5 games. So those kids, and Whitworth also ran back a kick against Crest. So, you know, they've accounted for 15 touchdowns between the 2 of them. You know, and we've seen a ton of different defenses. How are you going to play them? You know, if you keep 6 or 7 in the box, we'll throw. You know, if you start spreading that box out, 21's going to start running. And that's just how we're going to do it. And everybody knows that we're going to do that, but you have to kind of decide. But the pen kind of doesn't stop when I call the play, because Brandon and I are so close that he knows what I'm looking for. And he knows if he needs it. You know, he made a great check out last week against Q Foundation. Just a great check. Because it wasn't there, what we had called, you know, that shifted into something. We just check it over, move it over, and we roll for about 25 yards. You know, so you know those are plays that maybe last year we go for -2 or 0 yards, and now this year we turn them into 25. And you know, that's just the way our offense works. We take care of the football. I made a terrible call at Asheville on a reverse pass, and we fumbled it into the boundary. My fault. And then our receiver ran a wrong route on a pass against Crest and put him in a spot where that defender shouldn't have been, and you know we have a pick. So those are our 2 turnovers. We take care of the football, we'll be fine.
Oh yeah. Tell us a little bit about the defense. You know, you mentioned first game, you know, wasn't where you wanted it to be, but it's definitely started to pick up. You know, come in, pretty much shut down South Point and what they do. I mean, that's a tough offense typically to shut down with that option that they run. So tell us a little bit what's changed and, you know, where you got them going, you know, now also.
Well, a lot of people forget it was Coach Barnes' his first year as a defensive coordinator. You know, and he'd been under the tutelage of my dad, you know, and that's been talked about and said, you know. And he and Coach Bradley kind of took the defense last year. And like I said, it was very inexperienced. We played kids, sophomores, Tank Ramsor, Trayvon Ross, just sophomores who maybe weren't totally ready, but we threw them in the fire because we had to get them ready. Yeah. You know, I always say if I can play somebody on varsity and get that experience, I'd rather do that than have them dominate JVs. You know, that doesn't bother me. But you know, so we're maybe not where we needed to be last year. I think we played good against Chris until we start cramping. We have, you know, scores 21-13. We have them on our 1 yard line or on their 1 yard line, and you know we have 6 people to go out due to cramps. You know, and we can't lose starters like that and expect to stop a team like that. You know, and not to make any excuses, they played great, man. They took care of it and they ran it right at us and they punched us, and you know, and that all credit in the world to them. You know, but that's over, and we're not worried about that now. And then defensively this year we get old Coach Beam to come back up here with us, make the trip from Gaston County to Burns. That really helps. You know, just his knowledge. You know, he's been in this for 38 years. He gets people in the right spot. He's a really maybe a comforting support person for Coach Barnes and play calling, and you know, and Coach Barnes has done a great job, and our defense has just played outstanding. I mean, I think we've said we forced 19 turnovers in 5 games, and we didn't have any against Crest, so 4 games we've had 19 turnovers. We've returned 3 of them. Trayvon Ross returned a touchdown on a fumble. Tyquise Brown returned the Kings Mountain when it turned the game around, 91 yards. Darius Lowe had a big turnover, touchdown, interception against Asheville. And then we had one against South Point that gets called back because we're blocking the back on a 1 foot line, I think it was. So, you know, our defense, and there's athletes over there. I mean, there's playmakers over there. I just don't need them a lot on offense. And so they, you know, we ask them, hey, go out there, make the big play, turn the game around. And, you know, when you can get a defensive score and I can leave those boys on the sidelines and rest them a little bit more, and, hey, you can't beat that now.
Oh, yeah. Moving forward, you got your first conference game coming up. You're opening up against Freedom on Friday night. Tell us a little bit about Freedom and, you know, what you're looking to do to Freedom.
Passing game-wise, they're the most talented team that we play, without a doubt. You know, the Helms kid, he's a coach's son, so he's smart. He understands the game. He has a really active arm. It's lively. He throws it around. He's tall. He's about 6'3". He sees over people. He has 2 really big targets in the Duckworth kid out there and the Beam kid out there. Both of them are 6'3". They can move. Have another small slot that they run around and toss it to. So offensively, we know, you know, I think they're going to come and try to run it on us and see if they can run a little bit. Have a good running back, good fullback, but I think they'll try to put their points up. with Ham's throwing it. You know, he throws it short, he throws it mid-range, he throws it deep. There's not a throw that he can't make. So he is a great quarterback. I mean, he is a really, really good quarterback. And so, you know, defensively, we're going to go score. I mean, that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to anyway. You know, that's the way. You know, they'll play a lot of people up in the box and try to take away Ramsey. They're going to take away something. They're either going to take away our run game or they're going to take away our pass. We have to be, you know, that two-headed kind of monster to be able to. If they take Little John and all the vertical people away, then we got to be able to run the rock in there. So that's what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, I mean, they gave up a lot of points to Crest last week. You know, I mean, still they beat Crest. You know, Shelby. Yeah. Sorry about that. They gave up a lot of points to Shelby last week. You know, and handed Shelby their third loss in a row. So
they did. You know, but they look like one of those teams maybe that just never quits and always waiting for an opportunity to make a play. Like they get 2 muff punts and go down and score on those punts, and you know they capitalize on people's mistakes. And if we make mistakes and you know give them short field, I can tell you when he's throwing it, if he gets 4 chances to throw into the zone, he's going to score. So we have to be able to take care of the football, and let's see if we can pressure him a little bit. We got some people we think can get after him a little bit, and maybe get some pressure in his face, and you know. But he's really good if those people. You know, I was talking to Trayvon Ross. I said, you know, if you get near him now, you have to finish him. You can't let him scramble around because he really scrambles. He keeps his eyes downfield like people are taught to. So he's really been coached, and those receivers go downfield and they get open on scramble drill. So he can be a really big problem.
All right. As far as conference, you know, like I said, this is the first game going into conference is Freedom. How else do you see the conference shaking down? I mean, not Crest. Shelby is still there, of course. You know, granted they're 0-1 right now.
I mean, you know, we're in a kind of a different situation now because last year we were going 0-5 and we were kind of the underdog and we kind of snuck up and thumped a couple people, you know. And so now all my kids are here and have Burns is going to win this conference. Burns is going to win this conference, and it's one of those things we talk about. You know, you got to have a small head and a big heart. You got to go play. Not listen to what your friends are telling you and what all this community is telling you, because the community is excited, you know. The community, and they have a right to be excited. You know, when we walked on campus here 18 months ago, you know, we were 1-10, you know. So we feel like we've come a long way, and our kids are really developing themselves. They're working hard in the weight room, but they have to be able to go into a game saying, you are the favorite. You know, and I don't think other than last week we have walked into a game and said, we're the favorite. We're going to go, you know, against the Q Foundation we were. But against those other guys, very established programs, not that Burns is not, but we're trying to get back to where we need to be. And, you know, even in the Freedom game, you know, people still say, you got to go win that game. And we should. But we got to play. This is a very hungry Freedom team, a very talented Freedom team. You know, and there's some other teams that are surprising. I think Patton's 5-0 right now, or what, some 5 or 6-0, maybe 6-0 right now. You know, Chase is scoring some points. East Rutherford is, I think, 1, 2, or 3 in a row. They're playing well. RS Central is playing well. You know, Shelby is still Shelby. You know, people should not jump off their bandwagon. They're very well coached. Coach Norman does an outstanding job. They will rebound. People have to remember that those teams that they have lost to combined, 2 games? Yeah. Crest, Lincoln, and Freedom, they've lost 2 games combined. So not many.